Welcome, my friend. As we stand here together at the threshold of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and feel the quiet stillness that surrounds us. Can you sense it? The faint whisper of something more, a deeper reality that calls out to you, urging you to look beyond the surface of things. We live in a world that often feels heavy with materialism, a world where the tangible and the visible seem to dominate, leaving little room for the unseen, the mystical, the transcendent. But this is where our journey begins. We are about to step beyond that world, to explore the infinite possibilities that lie within and around us, waiting to be rediscovered. Together, we will embark on a path that leads to a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. This is not just a journey of thought or philosophy, but of transformation, of consciousness, of spirit, of life itself. The journey we are about to take is one inspired by the profound vision of Raphael Liogier, a philosopher who has invited us to rethink our place in this vast and mysterious universe. His ideas will guide us, but this journey is also uniquely yours. Because as we explore the mysteries of transcendence, love, beauty, and creativity, you will find your own insights, your own moments of awakening. As we begin, let me share with you the heart of what this audiobook is about. It's about reclaiming something that has always been with us, but has, in many ways, been forgotten. Our capacity to transcend the limits imposed by the material world. It's about rediscovering the beauty and wonder that surround us, not as fleeting experiences, but as doorways to a deeper truth. Let me take you step by step through this journey so you can see where we are heading. We'll start by exploring Chapter 1, Humanity at a Crossroads, the call to transcend, where we'll set the stage for our collective evolution. You and I stand at a crucial moment, a crossroads between a world lost in material distractions and an invitation to something greater. Next, we'll dive into Chapter 2, the stranglehold of materialism, where we'll break free from the inertial worldview. Here, we'll ask the bold question: what if matter itself, down to the smallest particle, is not dead but alive with energy? From there, we'll journey into matter as alive and dynamic, reawakening to the energy of the universe. Imagine a world where everything around you, rocks, air, even the stars, brims with life, potential, and constant transformation. In chaos, the infinite potential at the heart of existence will redefine the void, not as empty space, but as a wellspring of creation. Chaos, as the ancient Greeks knew it, is the pulse of the universe, and it flows through you as well. But that's only the beginning. In Chapter 5, Openness and Uncertainty in Modern Science, we'll delve into quantum mysteries. The uncertainties of the universe are not obstacles, but invitations to embrace the unknown, to live with openness. We'll then engage with raw transcendence, engaging the mystery, where we meet the divine in its raw form, not filtered through tradition or dogma, but as a pure, direct experience of the infinite. How do we access this transcendence? Through meditation as a window to the void. Together, we'll close our eyes and face the void, discovering the freedom within what appears to be nothingness. It's here that we uncover our true selves. As we move forward, we'll encounter the immense power of love and beauty as catalysts for transformation. Love is the force that moves us to act heroically, pushing us beyond what we thought was possible. It's what compels us to create a world where love leads the way. In Beauty as a Portal to Transcendence, we'll explore how beauty is more than just something we see. It's a window into the truth of the universe, inviting us to touch the infinite. Before we can talk about ethics, we must discuss aesthetics. In Chapter 10, Aesthetics as a Foundation for Ethics, we'll see how beauty informs our moral compass, how it opens us to interconnectedness, and how compassion naturally follows. But first, we must acknowledge the trap we've fallen into. In Modernity's Betrayed Promise, we'll explore how the freedom promised by modernity has been overshadowed by materialism. Yet it's not too late to reclaim that promise and live a life that is more open and dynamic. We'll then move to Chapter 12, Escaping Triple Negativity, where we'll learn how to shift from focusing on crises to engaging in collective creation. Rather than dwelling on what's wrong, we'll focus on what beauty, love, and openness can help us build. In our chapter, Reclaiming Science's Spiritual Roots, we will rediscover how science wasn't always cold and detached. It began as a mystical pursuit. Early scientists sought to understand not just the physical, but also the spiritual. Together, we'll reignite this sacred connection. As we rediscover the wonder of science, we'll turn to rediscovering wonder and curiosity. Wonder isn't just for children. It's a passion we all need to rekindle. Let's awaken it within ourselves and reignite our curiosity. From here, we'll look forward with Chapter 15, A Path Forward Toward Collective Evolution. Your personal awakening isn't just for you. It contributes to humanity's collective destiny. Together we'll move toward a brighter, more transcendent future. Then we'll imagine building a world of openness and creativity, where love, beauty, and transcendence thrive in a society built on collaboration and imagination. This isn't just a dream, it's something we can create step by step. And finally, we'll arrive at the next evolutionary leap, where we reflect on this hopeful vision for humanity. We are not just here to survive, we are here to transcend, to evolve, and to create a world where love, beauty, and transcendence are not just ideals but lived realities. As we continue, know that this journey is not just about ideas, it's about transformation. Together, we will rediscover the profound beauty, love, and creativity that are the very foundation of our existence. We will confront the limitations of materialism and embrace the mystery of chaos, the boundless creative force that pulses through the universe and through us. But more than anything, this journey is about you. It's about your awakening, your growth, your own evolutionary leap. The ideas we explore will resonate with the deepest parts of your being, inviting you to think, feel, and transcend. So as we take our first steps on this path of light, I encourage you to approach it with an open heart and an open mind. Let go of what you think you know, and allow yourself to be guided by something greater. There is no need to rush. This is a journey that unfolds slowly, gently, and with purpose. Now let us begin. The first light of understanding dawns not in the clarity of daylight, but in the quiet moments before, when the world is still cloaked in darkness, and we stand on the edge of something vast and unknown. This is where I find myself today, with you, on the threshold of an idea that calls to us, urging us to go deeper, to step beyond the confines of what we've been told is real and true. Together we are embarking on a journey, not just of thought, but of transcendence. You see, the world we live in, the material world, feels so solid, so absolute. We are surrounded by it, shaped by it, often without even realizing it. And yet, beneath the surface, something else pulses, something more mysterious, more profound, waiting to be discovered. I want to share with you the vision of Raphael Liogier, a vision that speaks not just to the intellect, but to the heart, to the very essence of what it means to be human. It is a vision that tells us we are on the brink of a new evolution, an evolution not of our bodies, but of our consciousness. We are being called to transcend the limits we've imposed on ourselves, to reclaim the depths of love, beauty, and something Liogier calls raw transcendence. But before we can begin to understand that transcendence, we must first confront the forces that have kept us from it for so long. We live in a world where the material, the tangible, has taken precedence over the unseen, the spiritual. It's a world that has shaped our minds, our hearts, and our souls, often without us noticing. But now, in this moment, we stand together on the brink of a new awareness, one that calls us to open our eyes to a deeper truth. I'm here with you, guiding us through the layers of a world waiting to be rediscovered, where love and beauty form the foundation of our evolution. Together, we will explore the ideas, the mysteries, and the transcendent potential that lie within each of us waiting to be awakened. As we move forward, I invite you to let go of what you know, to embrace the unknown, and to open yourself to the possibilities that lie ahead. This journey is not just a journey of the mind, but of the spirit. It is a journey toward transcendence. I have often felt the weight of the world pressing down, haven't you? It's as if everything around us, every expectation, every rule, has been built to keep us in place. We live in a world that whispers to us that we are small, insignificant, that the material is all that matters. This is the world of materialism. A world that tells us that matter is all there is, that life is nothing more than a sequence of accidents, random and meaningless. It's a worldview that reduces the universe to dead, passive objects, and in doing so, it reduces us. But here's the thing, it's not true. And I know deep down, you've sensed this too. There is more to this existence than what we can touch and measure. There's a vitality within everything, a pulse of life that goes beyond mere biology. You've felt it, haven't you? It's that quiet hum beneath the noise of everyday life, the sense that something more is waiting just beyond the horizon of what we know. Liogier calls this materialist worldview inertialism, a stranglehold that keeps us from reaching for something greater. It's a worldview that says the universe is fixed, unchanging, and that we are nothing more than the sum of our physical parts. But that's not the truth of existence. Matter, our world, our lives, is alive with potential. Just like you, it goes beyond itself. It reaches towards something more, something greater, something full of possibility. Liogier reminds us that matter has its own dynamic. It goes beyond itself, so it has some kind of energy that can't be reduced to something dead. And this, my friend, is where we find ourselves now, at a crossroads. On one side lies the comfort of what we've always known, a world defined by material distractions, routine, and the stories we've been told about the limits of existence. On the other side is something unknown, something vast. It's an invitation to transcend, to leave behind the confines of inertialism, and to awaken to the energy, the vitality that pulses through everything, through you, through me, through the very fabric of the universe. This isn't a moment to rush past. It's an invitation to pause and listen to the deeper pulse of existence, to feel the life that flows through everything around you. This world we live in, it's not just a collection of objects. It's alive, and so are you. We stand at the edge of a great transformation, you and I, and the choice before us is profound. Will we continue down the path of distraction, where the material world dominates, and we live as though we are separate from the infinite possibilities that surround us? Or will we step into the unknown, into the openness of the void, where love, beauty, and transcendence are waiting to guide us forward? In Chapter 4, we will dive deeper into the concept of the void, exploring its true nature to gain a clearer understanding of its significance. This is where we begin. Together we'll explore the ideas, the philosophies, and the possibilities that Raphael Liogier brings to light. And through this exploration, perhaps we'll discover not just a new way of thinking, but a new way of being, one that allows us to transcend the limits of materialism and awaken to the infinite potential within us all. For too long we've been told a story that the universe is dead, that matter is cold and lifeless. We've been led to believe that life is nothing more than an accident of biology, that everything we see, touch, and experience is just a series of mechanical processes, devoid of meaning or deeper purpose. But what if I told you that this story, the one we've been taught for so long, is incomplete? What if I told you that everything, right down to the smallest particle, has its own energy, its own life force, that the universe isn't some cold, indifferent machine, but is instead vibrant, dynamic, and alive? This is where Liogier's vision begins to challenge everything we've assumed. He calls this prevailing view inertialism, a worldview that has reduced the universe to dead matter and, in doing so, has reduced us. It's a stranglehold that keeps us from seeing the true nature of reality, a reality that is anything but inert. Now let's step into the void. But this void I speak of, it isn't emptiness. No, it's something far more extraordinary. It is what the ancient Greeks called chaos, but written with the letter K. It is a word that means something closer to infinite potential than nothingness. This void, this chaos, is the source from which everything flows. It's not something to be feared but embraced. It is the place where all possibility begins, and when we stand at its edge, we are standing at the very heart of existence. Imagine for a moment what that means. There is no static reality. Everything is unfolding, becoming. And this becoming, it comes from chaos, this infinite well of creation. Just as the universe itself is dynamic, shifting, and full of energy, so too are we. In fact, this chaos, this void, isn't distant. It's within you. It's the part of you that dreams, that imagines, that longs for something beyond the ordinary. It's the drive that compels you to ask questions, to push boundaries, to create. Think about those moments when you felt inspired, when an idea sparked in your mind, or when you were filled with a sudden sense of wonder. That's void speaking through you, the infinite potential flowing through your very being. You've felt it before, haven't you? That connection to something greater, something alive within you. But the world of inertialism has taught us to ignore that connection. It has taught us to focus only on what can be measured, what can be explained through cause and effect, and in doing so, it has stripped away the deeper meaning of existence. We've been taught to see ourselves as separate from the universe, as mere observers in a lifeless world. But that's not the truth. The truth is, we are part of this dynamic, living universe. We are not separate from it. We are woven into its very fabric. And just as the universe is alive with energy and possibility, so too are we. As we continue this journey together, I want you to reconnect with that sense of wonder, that sense of aliveness that flows through everything. Let go of the idea that the world is fixed, that everything has already been decided. Open yourself to the possibility that the universe, like you, is full of potential, full of life. And as we move deeper into Liogier's vision, you'll see how this idea of the unlimited potential of the void can transform not only the way you understand the world around you, but also the world within you. Let's take a moment to truly feel what it means to be alive. We often think of matter, the physical world around us, as something static, fixed, unchanging. We see the ground beneath our feet, the objects we interact with every day, as just things, dead things, things that don't move or think or feel. But what if I told you that all of this, the very matter that makes up your world, is alive? Matter is not just lifeless particles colliding in space. It is alive with energy, constantly shifting, evolving, becoming. You can see this aliveness in the most obvious ways: plants growing, oceans moving, your own breath rising and falling. But the truth is, this vitality exists in everything, even in the things you wouldn't expect. I want you to think about this deeply for a moment. Even the rocks under your feet, the air you breathe, the stars in the sky, they are all part of a dynamic, living universe. Liogier reminds us that matter has its own dynamic. It goes beyond itself, so it has some kind of energy that can't be reduced to something dead. This means that matter, the physical world, is constantly in motion, constantly transforming, constantly filled with potential. Imagine the smallest particle, something invisible to the naked eye. Even there, energy pulses, life flows. There is no such thing as dead matter. Everything from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy is alive with possibility. The universe is in a constant state of becoming. And this aliveness, this dynamic energy, isn't just something that exists outside of you. It flows through you as well. The same energy that moves the stars and grows the trees also moves through your veins, fuels your thoughts, and shapes your very being. You are a part of this living, breathing universe. You are not separate from it. You are it. Think about those moments when you felt deeply connected to the world around you. Maybe it was standing at the edge of the ocean, feeling the waves crash against the shore. Maybe it was watching the sun rise over the horizon, the sky painted in shades of gold and pink. Or perhaps it was simply the quiet peace of a still forest, where every leaf, every blade of grass seemed to be humming with life. In those moments, you weren't just an observer. You were a participant in the dance of life. You were connected to the very pulse of the universe. That feeling, that connection, is what Liogier is inviting us to rediscover. It's the realization that we are part of a dynamic, living world where everything is alive, everything is full of energy, and everything is interconnected. But somewhere along the way, we lost sight of this. We became disconnected from the aliveness of the world, from the energy that flows through everything. We started to see ourselves as separate, as apart from nature, as if we could somehow stand outside of the very universe that gave us life. Now is the time to change that. Now is the time to reawaken to the energy of the universe, to reconnect with the dynamic vitality that flows through all things, including you. But before we go further, there's something important we need to confront, an idea that has dominated much of modern thinking about the universe, the belief in substantialism. Substantialism is the idea that the world is made up of fixed, independent substances. It's the belief that reality is composed of static, isolated objects, things that exist separately from one another without connection or interdependence. Liogier challenges this idea head-on. Substantialism tells us that the universe is made up of solid, unchanging matter. It tells us that reality can be broken down into individual substances, each with its own distinct and unalterable essence. But this way of thinking blinds us to the truth. The universe is not a collection of isolated, lifeless objects. It is a dynamic, interconnected process. Everything is in flux. Everything is becoming. Everything is participating in a constant dance of creation and transformation. When we cling to the idea of substantialism, we reduce the universe to something mechanical, something dead. We limit our understanding of life to rigid categories and fixed identities. But in reality, nothing is fixed. Everything is alive. Everything is changing. Everything is connected. Think about it. The tree outside your window is not just a static object. It is a living process, constantly exchanging energy with the sun, the soil, the air. It is growing, evolving, adapting. And so are you. You are not a fixed being separate from the world. You are part of the same dynamic flow of life that animates everything around you. Liogier reminds us that substantialism is a trap. It prevents us from seeing the aliveness of the universe, from recognizing the deep connections that exist between all things. It makes us feel separate, disconnected, isolated. But when we let go of substantialism, we open ourselves to a new understanding of reality, one that is vibrant, dynamic, and full of possibility. As we continue this journey, I invite you to reawaken to the energy of the universe, to feel the dynamic vitality that flows through everything, including yourself. Let go of the idea that you are a separate, static being. Embrace the truth that you are part of a living, breathing, interconnected world. The universe is not something that happens to you. It is something you are an active part of. And when you tap into that energy, you begin to realize just how alive, just how dynamic the world truly is. Now let's talk about something that may seem strange at first, something that has been misunderstood for centuries: the void. When you hear the word void, what comes to mind? Emptiness? Darkness? A place where nothing exists? It's a word that for many of us carries a sense of fear, or at least unease, because we think of it as a space devoid of life, devoid of meaning. But I want to share with you a different understanding. What if the void wasn't emptiness at all? What if it wasn't something to fear, but rather something to embrace? What if the void was the very source of life, of possibility, of creation. In ancient Greek thought, there was a concept known as chaos. Now, when you hear that word, you might think of chaos in the modern sense, disorder, confusion. But chaos, as the Greeks understood it, was something far more profound. It wasn't disorder. It was the space from which everything came into being. It was the primordial source, the womb of the universe, full of infinite potential. Imagine standing at the edge of that void, that chaos. It's not empty. It's teeming with possibility, with creation waiting to unfold. It's the space from which all things emerge, the birthplace of stars, of planets, of life itself. And it's not distant. It's right here, right now. Chaos is not something far removed from us. It's the creative force that pulses through everything. It's the energy that flows beneath the surface of our everyday lives, waiting to be tapped into. And it's within you, just as much as it's within the universe. Let me explain what this means. Imagine the void not as a place of absence, but as a place of possibility. Every idea you've ever had, every creative impulse, every moment of inspiration, it all comes from this place of chaos. It's the place where reality begins, where potential turns into action, where the future is born. Chaos is the space that allows for everything to exist, for everything to become. It's not something to fear, it's something to welcome. Because in that void, in that space of infinite potential, lies the key to our evolution. It is the moment in between, the pause where transformation happens. Just as the universe itself emerged from chaos, so too can we emerge from our own limitations, our own fears, our own doubts. Think about it this way. There is no such thing as a fixed, static reality. Everything is in a constant state of becoming, of unfolding. And this becoming, this unfolding, comes from chaos. It is the infinite well of creation from which all things flow. Just as the universe is dynamic, always changing, so too are we. We are part of this unfolding, part of this creative pulse. And here's the most incredible part. This chaos isn't distant. It isn't something out there. It's within you. It's the part of you that dreams, that imagines, that longs for something beyond the ordinary. It's the part of you that creates, that asks questions, that seeks meaning. You've felt it before, haven't you? That moment when an idea strikes you from nowhere, when a flash of inspiration comes out of the blue, when you suddenly see something in a new light. That's chaos at work, the infinite potential stirring within you, guiding you toward creation, toward transcendence. Liogier invites us to see chaos not as something chaotic or frightening, but as the very heart of existence. It's the space where everything begins, where everything becomes possible. And when we embrace it, when we step into that space of infinite possibility, we begin to realize that we are not just passive observers of life. We are co-creators of it. Chaos doesn't stand alone as a concept of infinite potential. It mirrors other ancient philosophies, such as those found in Eastern traditions. In Buddhism, there is the idea of shunyata, or emptiness. Much like chaos, shunyata is not a void to be feared, but a space of boundless potential, the ground from which all phenomena arise and into which they dissolve. It is the recognition that nothing has an inherent, fixed essence. Everything is interconnected and constantly in flux. Imagine shunyata as a vast ocean, endless and open, from which every wave, every form emerges. The forms may change, but the ocean remains, ever present, full of possibilities. This is the dynamic, creative pulse of existence. In the same way, chaos offers us that same openness, that same infinite space for becoming, for creating. Buddhist philosophy also speaks of pratityasamutpada, the principle of interdependent co-arising. It is the idea that nothing exists in isolation. Everything arises in relation to something else. This concept mirrors Liogier's vision of chaos, the interconnected web of existence, constantly evolving, constantly emerging. It is a dance of potential, a movement toward transcendence that involves not just the self, but everything around us. Both Shunyata and Pratityasamutpada invite us to embrace the openness and impermanence of life. They remind us, just like chaos, that the void is not something to avoid or fear. It is the space where creativity is born, where possibilities flourish, where transformation is always possible. As we continue, I want you to hold on to this idea of chaos and the parallels it shares with these Eastern philosophies. It is the pulse of the universe, the pulse of your own being. It's the source of all creation, all possibility, and it's waiting for you to step into it, to embrace it, to use it to shape your life, your world, your future. We live in a world that often prizes certainty. We are taught to believe that the more we know, the more control we have, the safer we are. And for centuries, science has been the tool we've used to impose order on the universe, to explain the unexplainable, to turn mystery into knowledge. But what if science wasn't about certainty at all? What if, at its heart, science was about embracing the unknown, about leaning into uncertainty? What if the true power of science lies not in its answers, but in its questions? Liogier invites us to reconsider the role of science in our lives. He reminds us that the deepest truths about the universe cannot be contained in neat formulas or equations. In fact, the closer we look at the fabric of reality, the more we find mystery, paradox, and uncertainty. Take, for example, the realm of quantum physics. At the smallest levels of existence, where particles and waves blur together, we find that the universe does not behave in ways we can easily predict or control. There is no strict cause and effect. Instead, there is uncertainty, an openness to possibility that defies the rigid boundaries of classical science. It's as though the deeper we go into the nature of reality, the more we find that the universe resists being pinned down. It's a space of infinite potential, of dynamic relationships and unfolding possibilities. In this realm, the observer and the observed are not separate. The act of observation itself changes what is observed. Reality in this quantum world is not fixed. It's in flux, constantly shifting, constantly becoming. This is where modern science begins to align with the ancient understanding of chaos. Just as the Greeks saw chaos as the space from which all things emerge, quantum science reveals to us a universe that is fundamentally open, fundamentally uncertain, and brimming with potential. Now I understand that uncertainty can feel unsettling. We've been conditioned to seek control, to believe that certainty is what gives us power over our lives. But Liogier invites us to see uncertainty differently, not as something to fear, but as something to embrace. Because in uncertainty, there is possibility. When we let go of the need for rigid answers, for total control, we open ourselves up to the dynamic, creative energy of the universe. We begin to see that life is not a fixed path, but a series of unfolding moments, each one filled with potential. Think of it this way: uncertainty is not the absence of meaning. It's the space where meaning is created. It's the space where new ideas are born, where creativity thrives, where we are free to explore, to experiment, to discover. Just as the quantum world resists strict boundaries, so too do we. We are not bound by rigid definitions, by fixed roles or predetermined outcomes. We are open. We are fluid. We are part of a universe that is alive with possibility. So, as we continue this journey, I invite you to embrace the uncertainty. Allow yourself to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with curiosity. Because in that space of openness, of mystery, of possibility, you will find the true essence of who you are. The deeper truths of existence do not lie in certainty. They lie in the spaces in between, in the openness to change, to possibility, to becoming. This is where science, philosophy, and spirituality meet, in the infinite potential of what could be. Transcendence. It's a word that carries with it a sense of the divine, the infinite, something beyond the ordinary. But for most of us, transcendence feels distant, unreachable. It's often wrapped in the language of religion or philosophy, something that belongs to ancient texts or spiritual leaders. But what if I told you that transcendence is not distant at all? It's right here. It's closer than you think. There are two kinds of transcendence. The first, refined transcendence, is the kind we're more familiar with. Transcendence that has been formalized, institutionalized through religious traditions, philosophical systems, cultural narratives. It's the kind of transcendence that offers us meaning, but often comes with limitations. It can feel distant, locked away in rituals or doctrines that seem inaccessible to everyday life. But there's another kind of transcendence, one that doesn't belong to any system, one that doesn't require a specific path or set of beliefs. It's what Liogier calls raw transcendence. Raw transcendence is personal, it's unfiltered. It's the experience of the infinite that touches you directly, without the need for interpretation or mediation. It's not something you need to seek out in temples or books. It's something you can feel right now, in the quiet moments of your life, in the simple act of being present. I want you to think about a moment in your life when you felt connected to something greater. Maybe it was standing under a vast star-filled sky, or sitting by the ocean as the waves crashed against the shore. In those moments, you weren't thinking about transcendence, you were experiencing it. That's raw transcendence. It's the sense of something beyond words, something you can't fully explain, but you know it's real. This kind of transcendence doesn't require belief, it requires presence. It requires openness. It requires the willingness to engage with the mystery of existence, to feel it in your bones, in your breath, in the very pulse of your life. And here's the thing, raw transcendence isn't something you have to reach for. It's already here, waiting for you. You don't need to follow a specific path to find it, because it's not somewhere outside of you. It's within you, waiting to be recognized. Embrace this kind of transcendence and let go of the need for refined answers or structured rituals. Because true transcendence, the kind that transforms us, comes when we engage directly with the mystery of life. There's a reason we call it mystery. It's not something we can fully grasp or understand with the mind. It's something we experience. And when we do, we realize that transcendence isn't something we ascend to. It's something we are already part of. This mystery is not separate from your life. It's woven into every breath, every moment, every experience. It's in the laughter of a child, the beauty of a sunset, the quiet stillness of a forest. It's the sense of awe you feel when you're alone with the vastness of the world, and yet in that vastness, you feel deeply connected to it all. Raw transcendence doesn't ask for belief, it asks for presence. So as we move forward on this journey, I invite you to engage with the mystery, to let go of the need to explain or define transcendence, and simply feel it. To recognize that in the simplest moments of life, in the smallest details, you can find the infinite. You can touch the divine not through complex rituals or grand gestures, but through the act of being here, right now. This is raw transcendence, a personal encounter with the infinite, and it's waiting for you, right here, in this very moment. As we continue, let's gently turn our attention to meditation, not as a practice of concentration or discipline, but as a way of opening yourself to the vastness of existence. Meditation, as Liogier invites us to understand it, is a window to the void, to that place of infinite potential we call chaos. Many of us think of meditation as something we need to master, as if it's about clearing the mind, achieving a perfect state of focus, or finding some kind of blissful peace. But what if meditation wasn't about any of that? What if, instead of controlling the mind, it was about surrendering to the flow of existence? What if it was about letting go, stepping into the unknown, into the vast space of the void, where boundaries dissolve and infinite possibilities unfold? I want you to imagine this. What if, instead of trying to quiet your thoughts, you simply allowed them to arise and pass like clouds in the sky? What if, instead of resisting the noise in your mind, you opened yourself to the stillness that lies beneath it, the quiet, expansive space that has always been there, waiting for you to notice? This is the meditation Liogier speaks of, a meditation that doesn't seek to fill the mind with focus or peace, but rather empties it, It is a meditation that brings you face to face with the void, that boundless realm where the self dissolves into the infinite and where there are no expectations, no judgments, no limits. Meditation in this sense is not a task to be completed or a state to be achieved. It is a process of allowing, of trusting in the unfolding of the moment, much like Zhuangzi's wisdom. The perfect man uses his mind like a mirror, going after nothing, welcoming nothing, responding but not storing. In this space, thoughts are not obstacles to overcome but reflections of a deeper reality, passing through the stillness like ripples on the surface of a lake. To let go in meditation is to stop striving for mastery or control, and to simply be with whatever arises. It is to sit with the understanding that beneath the movement of your mind, there is a profound quiet, a quiet that connects you to the essence of being, to the infinite potential that lies within you. This mirrors the wisdom of Zen, where meditation is described as just sitting, not to reach a particular state, but to experience the raw presence of the moment, untethered from expectation. So what might happen if in your meditation you stopped striving for clarity or peace and simply allowed yourself to be? What if you embraced the unfolding of the void with all its mystery and potential, and let it guide you toward a deeper connection with yourself and the universe? I invite you to close your eyes with me for a moment, take a deep breath in, and let it out. Feel the air as it fills your lungs, as it leaves your body. Notice the space around you. There's nothing you need to do, no thoughts you need to silence, no goals you need to reach. Simply be. In this space, in this moment, you are stepping into the void. You are facing the vast unknown, and yet you are perfectly safe here. There is no chaos to fear, no emptiness to avoid. Instead, there is freedom. There is potential. There is life. Meditation is not about escaping the world, it's about facing it fully. It's about being present with the mystery, with the unknown, and finding peace not in answers, but in the openness itself. To meditate in this way is to engage with the void, with chaos. It's to stand at the edge of all that is and all that could be, and to allow yourself to feel the infinite potential that exists in every moment, in every breath. Take another deep breath with me. As you exhale, let go of any need to understand or control. Let yourself simply be in this space where everything is possible and nothing is fixed. This is the essence of meditation, not a practice of discipline but an act of surrender, an act of opening yourself to the flow of life, to the pulse of the universe. And when you open yourself in this way, you begin to see that the void isn't empty at all. It's full of energy, full of life, full of possibility. It's the place where creation begins, where new realities are born. And it's not separate from you, it's within you. In meditation, you don't need to seek transcendence. You don't need to search for enlightenment. All you need to do is be still, to be present, and to let the infinite potential of the void reveal itself to you. The stillness itself becomes the gateway to the infinite, where the need to seek or grasp dissolves, and what remains is pure awareness. So the next time you meditate, remember this: you are not trying to reach a state of perfection. You are simply opening yourself to the mystery of existence, allowing the void to show you its infinite possibilities. Just as a flower blooms effortlessly under the right conditions, you too will open naturally to the truth within you. Indeed, this process of stillness aligns with the Zen teaching. If you understand, things are just as they are. If you do not understand, things are just as they are. There's no need to chase after anything. Transcendence arises naturally when you stop seeking. It is in these quiet spaces, where the mind rests and the heart opens, that the void reveals its potential, not as something external, but as an integral part of who you are. Meditation is not about achieving a state beyond yourself. It is about coming home to yourself. When you cease to struggle against the flow of thoughts, emotions, or experiences, you begin to see that the void you enter is not empty, but alive with possibility. It is in that quiet surrender, where every breath connects you to the present moment, that the universe reveals its boundless nature and you become a part of the rhythm of existence itself. As we continue this journey, carry with you the knowledge that the void, the chaos, is not a distant concept. It's a part of who you are. And through meditation, you can access that part of yourself, stepping into the freedom, the potential, and the transcendence that have always been within you. How does this shift your view of meditation, knowing that the void holds everything and yet asks nothing of you? Love and beauty, two forces that have shaped the world for as long as humans have walked this earth. But do we really understand their power? Do we realize how deeply they can transform us, how they can lead us to transcend the limitations we've been taught to accept? Let's start with love. Love is often seen as an emotion, something fleeting, something we experience in moments of joy or connection. But Liogier sees it differently. He speaks of love as something far more profound, something that fuels our deepest actions, something that can move mountains, something that has the power to make us heroic. Love, in this sense, is not passive. It's a force that compels us to transcend the limitations we've placed on ourselves, to go beyond what seems possible, to act with courage, with strength, with compassion. Think of a time when you were driven by love. Maybe it was love for a person, or love for a cause, or love for life itself. In that moment, didn't you feel a sense of purpose, a sense of clarity that lifted you above your fears, your doubts? That is the transformative power of love. Liogier reminds us that love provides the energy to find improbable, heroic solutions. It's love that pushes us to fight for what we believe in, to take risks, to stand up for what's right, even when it feels impossible. Love moves us beyond ourselves, beyond our own concerns, and connects us to something greater. Now let's turn to beauty. Beauty, like love, is often misunderstood. We tend to think of beauty as something superficial, something that pleases the eye, something to admire from a distance. But what if beauty was far more than that? What if beauty was a portal to transcendence, a way to connect with the deeper truths of existence? When you encounter true beauty, whether in nature, in art, or in another person, something shifts within you. There's a sense of awe, a moment of stillness where you feel connected to something far beyond yourself. That's because beauty, at its core, is a reminder that the world is alive with meaning, that there is more to life than what we see on the surface. Beauty is not just an aesthetic experience, it's a spiritual one, a window into the infinite. Let me share with you a little tale to show you something beautiful. It's an excerpt from a lost, forgotten myth, a story that evokes the profound beauty of the world in a way that words alone rarely can. As I recall, it begins like this. The first light of dawn unfurled its golden threads across the shrouded valley, a realm where ancient dreams and legends seemed to breathe through the ethereal mist. The early rays of the sun, soft and tentative, pierced through the thick canopy, revealing a landscape that defied the ordinary. Towering trees stood like silent sentinels, their branches interwoven into intricate patterns that suggested a deep, almost sentient awareness. Each leaf shimmered with an inner luminescence, hinting at secrets of the cosmos held within their veins. Can you feel it? The way beauty can take you out of the mundane and transport you to a place where the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary grows thin. In those moments when you stand in the presence of beauty, you're not merely admiring an object or a landscape. You're experiencing a glimpse of the infinite. Beauty, in that sense, is a form of transcendence. It's a way of touching the divine, of seeing the sacred in the ordinary. It opens your heart and mind, inviting you to step into a space where everything feels more alive, more meaningful. In these moments, beauty becomes more than what we see. It becomes a doorway to the divine, a reminder that the infinite exists, not just out there in some distant place, but right here, woven into the fabric of everyday life. And here's the incredible thing. When we open ourselves to beauty, we also open ourselves to love. These two forces, love and beauty, are deeply intertwined. Beauty moves us, awakens something within us, and that awakening is love. It's love for the world, for life, for all that is. When we encounter beauty, we are reminded of the interconnectedness of all things. We are reminded that we are part of something greater, something alive and dynamic. And when we feel that connection, we can't help but be moved by love. Liogier speaks of how beauty is the foundation for a new kind of ethics. It's not enough to build our lives or our societies on logic alone. We must first open ourselves to beauty, because beauty opens us to the transcendent, to the interconnectedness of life. And when we see that interconnectedness, how can we not act with compassion? How can we not act with love? Love and beauty are the forces that will lead us into a new way of being. They are the forces that will guide us beyond the material world, beyond the limitations of what we've been taught, and into a realm where everything is alive with possibility. You've felt it, haven't you? That pull toward something greater, something that lifts you out of the everyday and shows you the wonder of existence. That is the call of love. That is the call of beauty. And it's not a call that you have to answer in grand gestures or heroic acts. Sometimes the most profound moments of love and beauty come in the quietest ways. Maybe it's the love you feel when you hold the hand of someone you care about, or the beauty of a sunrise that takes your breath away. In those moments, you are connected to something infinite. You are experiencing transcendence, and it's through these moments that we begin to see the world and ourselves in a new light. As we continue this journey together, I invite you to open yourself to these forces, love and beauty. Let them guide you. Let them move you. Because when you allow yourself to be touched by love and beauty, you begin to transcend the ordinary. You begin to see the world as it truly is, alive, interconnected, and full of possibility. This is the power of love and beauty. They are not just experiences, they are catalysts for transformation. And through them, we find the strength, the courage, and the inspiration to become more than we ever thought possible. Beauty, it's more than what pleases the eye, more than the surface-level aesthetics we often associate it with. It is an experience that stirs something deep within, awakening a sense of the sacred, something beyond the tangible. True beauty serves as a portal, a doorway into the heart of existence, a reminder that there's something deeper, waiting to be felt rather than seen. You've experienced this, haven't you? That moment when a sunset's radiant hues stretch across the horizon, and for just a second, time seems to stop. Or when a melody flows through you, touching places words can't reach. It's in these moments that beauty reveals its true power, not as something external to be admired, but as a profound encounter with the infinite. Where love fuels our heroic actions, beauty invites us to pause, to reflect, and to simply be. Love moves us forward, while beauty brings us inward, into the quiet spaces of awe and wonder. It is the gentle reminder that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. Beauty in this way is a form of transcendence. It doesn't just appeal to the senses, it beckons to the soul. It tells us that the world is not merely what it seems on the surface, but that it pulses with life and meaning far beyond the material. In moments of true beauty, we sense the divine, the sacred interwoven into the fabric of the everyday. Liogier emphasizes that beauty is not just an aesthetic experience, it's a spiritual one. It's an invitation to step beyond the ordinary and into a space where everything feels connected, where the boundaries between the self and the universe dissolve. When we open ourselves to beauty, we are opening ourselves to transcendence, to the infinite possibilities that exist just beyond the veil of the physical world. Consider the moments when beauty moved you, not just aesthetically, but emotionally, spiritually. A moment when you felt your heart expand, your mind quiet, and a deep sense of connection washed over you. Those are the moments when beauty draws you into the divine. It's a glimpse into the infinite, a reminder that life is so much more than the mundane. And here's the thing. Beauty is everywhere. It's not just in the grand gestures of nature or the masterpieces of art. It's in the subtle details of life. It's in the delicate curve of a leaf, the soft murmur of the wind, the quiet stillness of a room bathed in morning light. Beauty waits in the most unexpected places, ready to guide you into a deeper experience of the world. Unlike love, which drives us to act and connect, beauty teaches us to pause and notice. It's a stillness that moves through us, awakening our awareness to the sacredness of all things. And in that stillness, we are transformed, not by grand acts, but by the simple act of witnessing the world as it truly is, alive, interconnected, and brimming with possibility. Beauty is not meant to be kept at a distance, admired only from afar. It is a living, breathing force that invites us to participate in its unfolding. To be present with beauty is to be present with the divine, to allow ourselves to be drawn into the mystery that lies beneath the surface of all things. Let beauty be your guide, your doorway to the deeper truths of existence. When you encounter beauty, don't just see it, let it move you. Let it remind you that you are part of something infinite, something sacred. Let it awaken in you the sense of wonder that comes from seeing the world, not as a collection of objects, but as a living, breathing tapestry of meaning. And when we open ourselves to that beauty, that transcendence, we begin to see the world and ourselves in a new light. We begin to understand that there is more to life, more to existence than we ever imagined. This is the power of beauty. It shows us the sacred in the ordinary. It reveals the infinite in the finite, and through it we touch the divine. Beauty doesn't just transform our inner world. It shapes how we see, how we act, and how we treat the world around us. When we allow ourselves to be moved by beauty, we begin to feel more connected to the people, places, and things in our lives. That connection, born from beauty, calls us to act with greater care, greater compassion. In this way, beauty becomes the foundation for a more profound sense of responsibility, guiding us toward a life lived with integrity and love. We often think of ethics as something dictated by rules, something governed by logic or reason. We look to laws, codes of conduct, or philosophies to tell us what is right and what is wrong. But what if ethics could arise from something deeper, something more intrinsic to our human experience? What if beauty, rather than logic, were the foundation for a more compassionate, more meaningful way of living? Liogier invites us to reconsider how we approach ethics. He suggests that before we can act ethically, we must first open ourselves to beauty. Because when we experience beauty, true, transcendent beauty, it changes something within us. It opens our hearts, it softens our minds, and it reveals to us the interconnectedness of all things. And in that moment, didn't you feel a deep sense of care, of compassion? And when we see the world in this way, how can we not act with love, with empathy, with compassion? This shift in perception, this awakening to the interconnectedness of all life, naturally leads to a sense of responsibility. It is from this space, where we truly see the world, that ethical action emerges not from obligation, but from a desire to preserve and nurture that which we recognize as sacred. That is why Liogier argues that aesthetics, the experience of beauty, must come before ethics. It is only when we are truly open to beauty, to the transcendent, that we can begin to understand our responsibility to one another, to the world, to life itself. Beauty, in its deepest sense, calls us to connection, and from that connection, our ethical responsibility naturally arises. Imagine, for a moment, a world where ethics were not based on rules or obligations, but on a deep sense of reverence for life. A world where we acted not because we had to, but because we felt the profound beauty and grace of existence, the interconnectedness of all things, and the sacredness of every moment. In such a world, ethics would not be something imposed from the outside. It would flow naturally from our experience of beauty. When we see the beauty in another person, in nature, in life, we cannot help but feel a sense of care, a sense of responsibility. We want to protect that beauty, to nurture it, to help it flourish. Liogier's vision for a new kind of ethics is one rooted in this profound sense of beauty. It's an ethics that comes from the heart, from the soul, from the very core of our being. It's not about following rules or adhering to strict codes of behavior. It's about opening ourselves to the beauty of life and letting that beauty guide us. This is why aesthetics is so important. It's not just about art or culture or what pleases the eye. It's about awakening to the deeper truths of existence, about recognizing the sacredness of life, and about allowing that recognition to shape the way we live. When we see beauty, when we truly experience it, we are reminded of the interconnectedness of all things. We are reminded that we are not separate from the world, but part of it. And in that recognition, we find the foundation for ethics. So often we think of ethics as a set of rules to be followed. But what if instead it was something we felt? What if our ethical actions came from a place of love, of reverence, of awe? When we allow ourselves to be moved by beauty, we begin to understand that our actions affect not just ourselves but the entire web of life. And when we act from that understanding, we act with compassion, with care, with a sense of responsibility that goes beyond duty. We act because we see the beauty in others, in the world, in life itself, and we want to honor that beauty, to protect it, to help it grow. This is the kind of ethics Liogier is calling us toward. An ethics rooted not in rules, but in beauty. An ethics that arises from the recognition of the sacredness of all life. An ethics that flows naturally from our experience of the transcendent. In doing so, we create a world that is not only just, but filled with love, with care, and with a profound sense of connection to all that is. The stillness between, a moment of reflection. We have already come far on our journey, venturing beyond the familiar terrain of materialism into the boundless realms of transcendence, love, and beauty explored in the earlier chapters. At this crossroads, we stand on the edge of two divergent paths. One pulls us deeper into the distractions of the material world, while the other beckons us to evolve, to awaken a higher consciousness that transcends the limitations we've imposed upon ourselves. As we reflect on this choice, we are reminded of Liogier's call to reclaim the depths of raw transcendence, an experience of the infinite within, waiting to be embraced. In Chapter 3, we discovered that matter, once thought inert and lifeless, reveals itself as alive with energy and possibility. The universe, with its quantum uncertainties, is not fixed or closed, but dynamic and interconnected, urging us to understand that chaos is not something to fear, but a source of creativity. Matter has its own dynamic. It goes beyond itself, so it has some kind of energy that can't be reduced to something dead. In this light, the void we encounter in meditation is not emptiness, but a vast pulsating field of potential, a doorway to the infinite. Later, we learned that transcendence is not something to seek or ascend to. It is something we are already part of. As we sit in stillness, facing the flow of our thoughts without resistance, we come to realize that the infinite is already woven into the fabric of existence. This realization draws us closer to the heart of our spiritual journey, where love fuels our highest aspirations, and beauty awakens in us a profound connection to the sacred. Just as in meditation, it is in these moments of stillness that the most profound transformations occur. The quiet between thoughts, like the space between breaths, creates room for wisdom to unfold and resonate deeply within us. Let us pause here, allowing this stillness to work its subtle magic, inviting the boundless potential of the void to reveal itself. In this reflective silence, we can embrace the vastness of our being and build a world where love, creativity, and transcendence are not distant ideals but the very foundation of our existence. There was a time when modernity promised us freedom. It offered us the chance to break free from the old structures, the rigid systems that had kept us bound for centuries. Modernity was supposed to open up new possibilities, new ways of thinking, of being. It was a time of great hope, great potential. But somewhere along the way, something went wrong. Instead of the freedom we were promised, modernity has brought with it a new kind of confinement. A confinement not imposed by kings or empires, but by something more subtle, more pervasive: materialism. We were told that progress was about mastering the physical world, about understanding its laws, its mechanisms, its structures. We were told that the more we knew, the more we could control, and the more we controlled, the freer we would be. But this quest for control, this obsession with the material, has not brought us freedom. It has trapped us in a world where everything is measured, quantified, reduced to something that can be seen, touched, or owned. Liogier calls this the great betrayal of modernity. The promise of freedom has turned into a prison of materialism. We have built a world where only what is tangible matters, where the mysteries of existence are dismissed as irrelevant, and where the deeper questions of life are left unanswered. And in this world we have lost something essential. We have lost our connection to the transcendent, to the spiritual, to the infinite possibilities that lie beyond the material world. We have become trapped in a reality that tells us we are nothing more than biological machines, that our lives are defined by what we can own, what we can achieve, what we can control. But is that really freedom? We've been taught to believe that freedom is about having more power, more wealth, more control over our environment. But in the process, we have become confined by our desires, our expectations, and our attachment to the material world. The more we have, the more we feel we need. And the more we chase after what we think will make us free, the more we become trapped in a cycle of endless striving, never fully satisfied, never truly free. Liogier describes modernity's triple negativity as a cycle where we first focus on the flaws of the world, then propose restrictive, limiting solutions, and finally assign blame, whether on ourselves, others, or the world itself. This pattern has left us feeling disconnected and confined. We will explore this deeper in the following chapter, examining how this negativity shapes our modern experience. Yet, even within this cycle of negativity, there is a chance to pause, to reflect, and to recognize an alternative path. But it doesn't have to be this way. The promise of modernity may have been betrayed, but the potential for freedom still exists. The key lies in reconnecting with the very things modernity has dismissed: love, beauty, and transcendence. These are the forces that can guide us beyond the prison of materialism and into a new way of being. Picture the sensation of true freedom, not just free from external constraints, but free from the internal ones as well. Free from the need to accumulate, to control, to prove your worth through what you own or what you achieve. Imagine being free to live a life that is guided by love, by beauty, by a sense of connection to something greater than yourself. This is the freedom we have to reclaim. It's a freedom that comes not from mastering the material world, but from transcending it. It's a freedom that allows us to step beyond the limitations of materialism and to embrace the infinite possibilities that lie within us and around us. Modernity may have betrayed its promise, but the path forward is still open, and it begins with letting go of the idea that freedom is something we can own or control. True freedom comes from understanding that we are part of a much larger, much more dynamic reality, a reality that cannot be confined by material limits. What does freedom really mean? It's not about having more. It's about being more. It's about opening yourself to the deeper currents of life, to the forces of love and beauty and transcendence that flow through everything. When we do that, we begin to see that the world is not a prison. It's a place of infinite potential, a place where true freedom is possible, if only we are willing to look beyond the material. Yet, even as we recognize this, the grip of materialism remains strong, keeping us confined in ways that are not always obvious. We've already explored how modernity has betrayed its promise, trapping us in a cycle of materialism that confines us within its limits. Yet beneath this surface there's a deeper layer to the crisis, a recurring pattern that Liogier calls triple negativity, and what we want to explore in depth now. First, we focus on what's wrong with the world. We see the crises, the chaos, the destruction, and we let ourselves be consumed by it. We see the problems, and they seem endless. Environmental degradation, social injustice, personal disconnection. And in this constant focus on the negative, we lose sight of what is still possible. Next, we propose negative solutions, solutions that are all about limits, restrictions, and sacrifices. We hear it all the time, don't we? We need to cut back, reduce, do less, be less. It's a response to crisis that tells us the only way forward is to shrink, to restrict ourselves, to live in a world defined by scarcity and fear. And finally, we assign blame. We blame ourselves, we blame others, we blame society. We blame the world for being what it is. This blame creates division, frustration, and a sense of hopelessness. It separates us from one another, and it separates us from the possibility of positive change. This is the triple negativity that has taken hold of modernity, and it's not just a way of thinking, it's a way of being. It seeps into our personal lives, our relationships, our sense of self. We become focused on what's wrong, on what's missing, and we forget to look for what's right, for what's possible. But here's the thing. This doesn't have to be the way we live. Liogier reminds us that we have the power to shift out of this negativity, to break free from the cycle of crisis, limitation, and blame. We don't need to focus on what's wrong. We don't need to live in a world defined by scarcity and fear. Instead, we can choose a path of creation, a path that is guided by love, by beauty, by transcendence. We can live in a world that looks beyond what's broken toward what's possible, a world that sees crisis not as something to be feared, but as an invitation to create something new. Imagine a world where instead of shrinking in response to fear, we expand in response to love. This shift begins with a change in focus. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, we begin to look for what's right. We look for the places where love, beauty, and transcendence are already at work in the world. We look for the places where creativity and possibility are still alive. And when we shift our focus, something extraordinary happens. We begin to see opportunities where we once saw only obstacles. We begin to see that even in the midst of crisis, especially in times like these, there is potential for transformation. A lot, in fact. The next step is to move away from negative solutions. We don't need to cut ourselves off from life. We don't need to shrink in fear. Instead, we can choose to expand our love, our creativity, our connection to one another and to the world around us. We can choose to create new solutions that are not about restriction, but about growth and possibility. And finally, we let go of blame. Blame separates us. It creates division, frustration, and resentment. But when we let go of blame, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding. We begin to see that we are all in this together, that we are all part of the same world, the same life. And when we see this, we can begin to work together, to create together, to build a world that is not defined by fear and division, but by love and connection. This shift from crisis to creation, from limitation to expansion, from blame to understanding, is the path forward. It's the path that Liogier invites us to take, and it's a path open to all of us, starting right here, right now. In your own life, this shift can begin with a simple change in focus. Start by noticing where your attention lies. Are you dwelling on what's wrong, or are you exploring what's possible? Are you living within the confines of limitation, or are you expanding into love and creativity? Are you clinging to blame, or are you ready to release it in favor of connection and understanding? Because the truth is, we have the power to create something new. We have the power to move beyond this triple negativity and into a space of possibility, of love, of transcendence. It begins with us. It begins with the way we choose to see the world, the way we choose to act in our own lives. This isn't about ignoring the challenges we face. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of crisis, there is room for creation, there is room for love, there is room for beauty. And when we embrace that, we begin to see that the world is not defined by what's wrong, but by what's possible. So let's make that shift together. Let's move away from the negativity that has held us back, and step into a future that is defined not by fear, but by love and creation, a future that is filled with possibility. When we think of science today, we often imagine it as something cold, detached, rational, something focused solely on facts, measurements, and empirical data. But that hasn't always been the case. In its earliest days, science was deeply intertwined with spirituality, with a sense of wonder and reverence for the mysteries of the universe. Liogier invites us to reclaim that original spirit of science, to remember that the earliest scientists weren't just trying to control the natural world, they were trying to understand it, to connect with it, to reveal its hidden mysteries. Figures like Isaac Newton weren't just scientists, they were mystics. They believed that the physical world was a reflection of a deeper, more spiritual reality, and that by studying the natural world, they could unlock the secrets of the divine. Newton, for example, is celebrated today for laying the foundations of modern physics and mathematics, but his interests extended far beyond the realms of what we now consider scientific. He was deeply fascinated by alchemy, a practice that sought to uncover the spiritual significance behind the transformation of matter. In Newton's time, alchemy wasn't just about turning base metals into gold. It was a mystical pursuit, a way to understand the divine order of the universe. Newton believed that the same principles that governed the physical world also governed the spiritual. He didn't see a divide between science and spirituality. To him, they were one and the same, and he wasn't alone. Many early scientists, or natural philosophers as they were known, saw their work as a form of spiritual inquiry. They believed that by understanding the laws of nature, they were drawing closer to understanding the mind of God. Figures like Johannes Kepler and Robert Boyle blended their scientific investigations with deep religious and mystical beliefs. Kepler, who uncovered the laws of planetary motion, believed that the harmonious order of the cosmos was a reflection of divine geometry. Boyle, often called the father of modern chemistry, was deeply religious and saw the study of nature as a way to glorify the Creator. There was a time when science and spirituality walked hand in hand. Both were quests for understanding, for connection, for transcendence. The early scientists saw the universe not as a machine to be manipulated, but as a living, breathing entity, a reflection of the divine order. They approached their work with awe, with wonder, with a deep sense of humility in the face of the mysteries they were exploring. But as time went on, science began to drift away from its spiritual roots. It became more focused on control, on measurement, on reducing the universe to a set of laws and equations. The sense of mystery, the sense of wonder began to fade, and in its place came a worldview that saw the universe as little more than a machine, a lifeless, mechanical system that could be dissected, studied, and ultimately controlled. We lost something in that shift. We lost the connection between science and spirit, between knowledge and meaning. Science became a tool for domination, rather than a pathway to understanding the deeper mysteries of existence. And in that process, we lost the sense of wonder, the sense of reverence that had once been at the heart of scientific inquiry. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Liogier calls on us to reclaim the spiritual roots of science, to remember that science is not just about control or explanation, it's about connection. It's about opening ourselves to the mysteries of the universe, about approaching the world with a sense of wonder and awe, and recognizing that behind every fact, every discovery, lies something far deeper, far more profound. We could approach science not as a means to control or dominate the world, but as a way to connect with it. Rather than viewing the universe as a lifeless machine, we could see it as a living, dynamic entity, a reflection of the infinite possibilities of existence. By rediscovering the same sense of awe and wonder that the earliest scientists felt when they gazed up at the stars or observed the patterns of nature unfold, we too can reconnect with the deeper connection between science and the world around us. This is the spirit of science that Liogier invites us to reclaim. It's a spirit that sees science not as a tool for domination, but as a way to deepen our connection to the world, to the universe, to life itself. It's a spirit that recognizes that the more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how little we truly know. And in that recognition, we find humility, wonder, and reverence. This isn't about rejecting science, it's about expanding it. It's about recognizing that science and spirituality are not opposites, but complementary paths to understanding. Both are quests for knowledge, for meaning, for connection. Both are ways of engaging with the mystery of existence. And when we approach science with this sense of wonder, with this sense of humility, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of the universe. We begin to see that behind every discovery, every fact, there is something more. Something that can't be measured or quantified, but that can be felt, that can be experienced. Just as the earliest scientists believed, the physical world is not separate from the spiritual, it's a reflection of it. The patterns we observe in nature, the laws that govern the universe, are not just random occurrences, they are windows into a deeper reality, a reality that is alive, dynamic, and filled with meaning. This is what Liogier calls us to remember, that science is not just about facts or figures. It's about the deeper mysteries that lie beyond them. And when we reclaim that sense of awe and wonder, we reclaim the true spirit of science. We reclaim its spiritual roots. In doing so, we become children again, filled with the same boundless curiosity and wonder that once made the world feel so alive. Do you remember what it felt like to be a child, to look at the world with wide eyes, with a sense of wonder and curiosity about everything around you? Every leaf, every cloud, every star seemed like a mystery waiting to be explored, a secret waiting to be uncovered. As we grow older, that sense of wonder can begin to fade. We become busy, preoccupied with the tasks and responsibilities of daily life. We start to believe that we already know what the world is, that there's nothing new to discover. But that's not the truth. The world is still as full of mystery and magic as it was when you were a child. And that sense of wonder, it's still within you, waiting to be awakened. We can rediscover this sense of wonder to reignite our curiosity about the world and about life itself. Because wonder and curiosity are not just emotions. They are the driving forces behind discovery, behind creativity, behind transcendence. Curiosity is what compels us to ask questions, to explore the unknown, to push beyond the limits of what we think we know. It's what fuels the scientific mind, the artistic spirit, the spiritual seeker. Curiosity is the spark that leads us to new insights, new ideas, new ways of being. And wonder is what keeps us connected to the mystery of life. It's what reminds us that no matter how much we learn, no matter how much we discover, there will always be more. There will always be depths that we cannot fathom, possibilities that we have yet to imagine. Wonder keeps us open to the infinite. Think of the last time you truly marveled at something. Maybe it was a beautiful flower, or the sound of the wind through the trees, or the feeling of warmth from a loved one's embrace. In that moment, you weren't analyzing, you weren't trying to understand. You were simply experiencing the awe of being alive. That's what Liogier wants us to hold on to, the ability to marvel at life, to see the world not as something we've already figured out, but as a mystery that is constantly unfolding before us. And the more we lean into that sense of wonder, the more we begin to see that life itself is a miracle, that every moment is filled with beauty, with possibility, with transcendence. Curiosity and wonder are not just for scientists or philosophers, they are for all of us. They are part of what makes us human, part of what connects us to the deeper rhythms of life. When we allow ourselves to be curious, to ask questions, to explore new ideas, we open ourselves to growth, to discovery, to transformation. This sense of wonder is essential to our evolution. Without it, we become stagnant, stuck in the routines and limitations of the material world. But with it, We are constantly moving forward, constantly reaching for something greater. Wonder and curiosity are what propel us beyond the confines of the everyday, beyond the limits of what we think is possible, and into the realm of the transcendent. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need to go far to rediscover wonder. It's all around you. It's in the smallest details of life. It's in the way the sunlight dances on the surface of the water, in the way the leaves rustle in the breeze, in the quiet moments when you can feel the pulse of life moving through everything. All you need to do is pause, to open your eyes, and to let yourself be present with the world. Let yourself feel the wonder of it all, the miracle of life unfolding in each and every moment. Let yourself be curious about what's possible, about what lies just beyond the horizon of what you know. Because when we allow ourselves to be curious, when we allow ourselves to marvel at the world, we open ourselves to transformation. We open ourselves to new ideas, new experiences, new ways of seeing and being in the world. As we move forward on this journey, I invite you to reconnect with that sense of wonder and curiosity. Let yourself ask questions. Let yourself explore new possibilities. Let yourself be amazed by the beauty and mystery of life. Because when you do, you'll find that the world is not a fixed, predictable place. It's alive, dynamic, and filled with infinite potential. And you are part of that unfolding mystery, part of the great story of existence that is still being written. So go ahead, look up at the stars, feel the earth beneath your feet, listen to the wind as it whispers through the trees. Let yourself be curious about the world and about yourself. Let yourself wonder, because in wonder and curiosity we find the key to our own transcendence. We've traveled together through the mysteries of transcendence, through the realms of love, beauty, wonder, and curiosity. And now we arrive at a pivotal moment. How do we take these experiences, these awakenings, and bring them into the world? How do we move forward, not just as individuals, but as a collective? How do we turn personal transformation into collective evolution? Well, the path forward begins with us, each of us awakening to the infinite potential that lies within. But it doesn't end there. Our personal awakening is not just for ourselves, it's for the whole of humanity. Every step we take toward growth, toward transcendence, ripples outward, affecting the world around us in ways we may not even see. Imagine it this way. Every moment of love, every act of compassion, every time we choose to embrace beauty or wonder or curiosity, we are contributing to something much larger than ourselves. We are adding to the collective consciousness, the shared experience of humanity. And the more of us who awaken, who choose to live from a place of love and transcendence, the more the world begins to shift. This isn't just a personal journey, it's a collective one. The challenges we face as a species, environmental crises, social inequality, political division, can feel overwhelming. But these challenges are not impossible. They are invitations. Invitations to evolve, to transcend the limitations of the past, and to build a future that is rooted in love, creativity, and connection. But we can't do it alone, we must do it together. Our evolution as a species is not just about technological progress or scientific breakthroughs. It's about evolving our consciousness, our way of being in the world. It's about recognizing that we are all connected, that what affects one of us affects all of us. And it's about realizing that our personal growth, our individual transcendence, is part of a much larger story, the story of humanity's collective destiny. Liogier speaks of a collective evolution, a process by which we, as a species, move beyond the materialistic divisive thinking that has held us back for so long. And this evolution begins with each of us recognizing our role in it. The path forward is not about waiting for someone else to change the world. It's about each of us stepping into our own power, our own potential, and contributing to the collective transformation. Every time you choose love over fear, every time you act with compassion, every time you open yourself to the beauty and wonder of life, you are contributing to this evolution. You are helping to create a world that is more open, more connected, more transcendent. This is the path forward, a path that is built not on individualism, but on collective growth. It's a path that requires each of us to take responsibility for our own awakening, knowing that our personal transformation ripples outward, affecting the world in profound ways. But here we arrive at a profound question, a tension that has been explored in both Liogier's vision and in spiritual traditions like Buddhism. What is the role of individual enlightenment in collective evolution? Is it the individual's responsibility to achieve personal enlightenment first, as many traditional Buddhist perspectives suggest? Or can the collective evolve even as individuals continue their own personal journeys? In Buddhist thought, particularly in traditions like Theravada, individual enlightenment is often seen as a catalyst for collective transformation. The belief is that through one's personal awakening, realization of nirvana, a person becomes a beacon, illuminating the path for others. In this view, individual enlightenment precedes collective evolution, with the awakened individual acting as a guide for those still seeking. Liogier offers a complementary but slightly different perspective. He suggests that personal and collective evolution are deeply intertwined, and rather than being separate or sequential, they are part of the same process. Personal awakening isn't just a prerequisite for collective growth. It contributes directly to it. Every act of personal transcendence helps to build the collective momentum toward awakening. In this view, it's not about waiting for a select few to achieve enlightenment. It's about evolving together, each individual's growth feeding into the larger whole. There is, of course, a tension between these perspectives. On one hand, traditional Buddhist teachings emphasize the solitary journey of deep, personal transformation, the inner work that must occur within each of us. On the other hand, collective evolution emphasizes the interconnected nature of our existence, suggesting that individual growth contributes to the collective good. Neither perspective is wrong. They offer different lenses through which to view the relationship between the individual and the collective. Buddhist philosophy, particularly the Mahayana tradition, aligns with Liogier's vision in key ways. The Buddhist concepts of dependent origination and non-self emphasize that no individual exists in isolation. Our existence is fundamentally interconnected. Personal enlightenment, therefore, inevitably resonates throughout the collective because, in reality, the boundary between self and society is fluid. Liogier's vision takes this further, proposing that personal and collective evolution occur simultaneously, not sequentially. Every individual's growth nourishes the collective, much like the metaphor of Indra's net in Buddhist thought, where each individual reflects and affects the entire universe. This perspective reframes collective evolution as an ongoing process, not dependent on a select few reaching enlightenment, but as something continuously unfolding with each person's transcendence. Both perspectives, whether from the Buddhist tradition or Liogier's framework, suggest that the inner work of each individual is crucial, but not separate from collective evolution. The relationship between the two is symbiotic. Just as a lotus flower blooms individually, it thrives within the ecosystem it belongs to. In this way, our personal journey, though uniquely our own, is always in service to the collective evolution of all beings. This view aligns with the essence of Buddhist non-duality. Individual and collective growth are not distinct processes, but reflections of a deeper, unified reality. The awakening of one contributes to the awakening of all, just as the growth of each lotus flower enriches the pond in which it blooms. Liogier's vision suggests that we don't need to resolve this tension, that both perspectives can coexist. We can strive for personal enlightenment while simultaneously contributing to the collective evolution. In fact, the two paths may not be separate at all. Every moment of personal growth, every time we choose love over fear, every time we embrace beauty or wonder, we are not just transforming ourselves, we are transforming the world. The path forward is one of balance. It's about recognizing that our personal journey is deeply connected to the collective journey. It's about understanding that while we must each do our own inner work, we are also part of something much larger, and in that recognition we find our place in the collective evolution of humanity. And here's the incredible thing. When we choose to evolve, when we choose to transcend, we give others permission to do the same. Our courage to grow, to change, to embrace love and beauty and transcendence inspires others to do the same. And in this way, we create a collective momentum, a wave of transformation that begins to sweep across the world. But this isn't a path that requires grand gestures or monumental achievements. It begins in the smallest moments, in the way you choose to treat yourself, in the way you choose to treat others, in the way you choose to see the world. It's in the simple act of noticing beauty, of offering kindness, of being present with the people in your life. Each of these small moments adds up. Each one contributes to the collective evolution. As we move forward, I invite you to see your personal growth as part of something larger. You are not just on this journey for yourself. You are on this journey for all of us. Every time you choose to evolve, to transcend, to open your heart to love and beauty, you are helping to create a world that is more compassionate, more creative, more alive. And imagine for a moment what that world could look like. A world where love and beauty are not just abstract concepts but lived realities. A world where our interconnectedness is honored, where we support one another in our growth, where we come together to build a future that is not defined by fear or division, but by love, creativity, and transcendence. This is the world we are capable of creating. This is the world that lies before us, waiting to be born. And it begins with us, with each of us awakening to the infinite potential within, and then sharing that awakening with the world. So as we continue this journey, remember that your evolution matters. Your growth, your transcendence, is part of the collective evolution of humanity, and together we can build a future that is more open, more connected, more beautiful than we ever imagined. This is the path forward, a path of love, of beauty, of transcendence, and it's a path we are walking together. Now it's time to ask the question, how do we take everything we've learned, everything we've felt, and build a world that reflects these truths? A world that is rooted not in fear or limitation, but in openness and creativity? Liogier offers us a vision, a world where creativity flourishes, where openness is the guiding principle, and where we are free to explore the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. This is not some far-off dream. It's a future we can build together, step by step, moment by moment. But how do we begin? It starts with openness. Openness to life, to one another, to the unknown. Openness means letting go of the need to control or predict every outcome. It means allowing ourselves to be surprised, to be curious, to be willing to explore paths we never thought possible. In an open world, we aren't bound by rigid structures or outdated beliefs. We are free to reinvent ourselves, to reimagine what's possible. Openness is the key to creativity, because when we are open, we allow new ideas, new solutions, new ways of being to emerge. We stop holding ourselves back, and we begin to live in alignment with the infinite potential that exists within each of us. Think about how different life could be if we approached every situation, every challenge, with an open mind and an open heart. Instead of seeing obstacles, we would see opportunities. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, we would focus on what's possible. And when we do this, when we live with openness, we begin to tap into the boundless creativity that lies at the heart of existence. Creativity is not just about making art or inventing new technology. It's about the way we live, the way we solve problems, the way we interact with one another. It's about being willing to think outside the box, to try new approaches, to dream big. And in this world of infinite possibility, creativity is our most powerful tool. It's how we turn visions into reality. It's how we create the future we want to live in. Creativity is an act of transcendence. It's the process of moving beyond the limits of what we know, of what we think is possible, and stepping into the unknown. And when we approach life with a spirit of creativity, we are constantly growing, constantly evolving, constantly discovering new ways to connect with the world around us. We could be living in a world where creativity and openness are not only celebrated, but thrive. A world where we are free to explore our passions, to express ourselves fully, and to connect with others in meaningful and authentic ways. A world where we are not confined by fear but empowered by endless possibilities. This is the world we can create, a world where our collective creativity is harnessed for the greater good, where innovation and imagination are used to solve the challenges we face, where we come together not to compete, but to collaborate, to share, to build something new. And here's the beautiful thing. We are already building this world. Every act of creativity, every moment of openness, every time we choose love over fear, we are contributing to the creation of this future. It's happening right now, in the way we live our lives, in the choices we make, in the way we treat one another. But this is just the beginning. To truly build a world of openness and creativity, we need to expand our vision. We need to think beyond ourselves, beyond our individual desires, and consider how we can contribute to the collective good. How can we use our creativity to solve the problems we face as a species? How can we approach the world's challenges with an open heart and an open mind, ready to explore new solutions? How can we collaborate with others to imagine a future that is more beautiful, more connected, and more transcendent than we ever thought possible? As we envision this future, we must also confront the challenges posed by the growing influence of technology, particularly artificial intelligence. In an era where AI is reshaping industries, automating complex processes, and even simulating aspects of creativity, we are faced with a critical question. How do we safeguard our humanity, our values, and our spirituality in a world increasingly dominated by machines? AI offers immense potential. It can solve problems on a scale we could never manage alone, analyze vast amounts of data, and assist in creative endeavors. Yet, while the possibilities are exciting, we must remain cautious. Technology should never replace the very essence of what makes us human. Our capacity for emotional connection, our ability to love, to empathize, and to transcend beyond the material. When used thoughtfully, technology can complement our creativity and openness, serving as a tool that empowers us to create a more connected and innovative world. However, we must ensure that we remain in control, that technology serves us, not the other way around. The goal is not to reject technological advancement, but to integrate it meaningfully, without losing sight of the values that truly matter: creativity, love, openness, and transcendence. Now, imagine a future where technology enhances our ability to collaborate, solve problems, and create. A future where AI complements human creativity, handling repetitive tasks while freeing us to focus on what truly matters: our relationships, personal growth, and contributions to the world. This future, however, requires careful consideration and intention. It requires us to ask the right questions. How can we ensure that technology enhances human potential rather than diminishes it? How can we use AI to expand our creativity rather than limit it? And most importantly, how do we preserve the spirit of openness, wonder, and transcendence in an increasingly digital world? These are not easy questions, but they are essential if we are to build a future that remains human-centered, open, and creative. The path forward lies not in waiting for technology to shape our destiny, but in recognizing that we are the architects of our future. Each of us has the power to imagine, to create, and to transcend. Together, when we unite our creativity and openness, we can shape a world that reflects the best of who we are. As we continue this journey, I invite you to see yourself not as a passive observer, but as an active creator of the future. Every choice you make shapes the world around you. Imagine the world we could build together, one where love, beauty, creativity, and openness are at the heart of everything we do. This isn't a distant dream. This is the world we are building, right here, right now. And it begins with you, with your willingness to be open, to be creative, to contribute to the collective evolution of humanity. Together, we can build a world that is more alive, more dynamic, more beautiful than anything we've seen before. A world where every moment is filled with possibility. A world where we are free to explore, to create, to transcend. This is the world we are capable of building, and it starts today. With the choices we make, the love we share, and the creativity we bring into the world. We've traveled together through many realms, through the mysteries of transcendence, the transformative power of love and beauty, the importance of wonder and curiosity, and the call to collective evolution. Now, standing at the threshold of this journey, we face a choice to step forward into something bold, filled with possibility, a choice to embrace the next evolutionary leap of humanity. This leap begins with personal growth, but extends far beyond. It's a collective awakening, bringing us together through love, beauty, and shared purpose to shape a future that reflects the best of who we are. Liogier reminds us that this leap is not a distant dream. It's already happening in the way we live, in how we open ourselves to transcendence, and in how we allow love and beauty to guide us. Every moment of creativity, compassion, and release from materialism adds to the collective momentum toward a future rich with infinite potential. You, my friend, are an essential part of this leap. Your choices, actions, and willingness to open yourself to something greater contribute to this shared destiny. Together, we are weaving our distinct gifts, creativity, and love into the greater tapestry of transformation. We can live in a world where love and beauty aren't distant aspirations, but tangible realities shaping every moment. A world where we uplift one another, nurture creativity, and build communities anchored in compassion, openness, and shared wonder. This is the world we are creating together. A world where transcendence is not something to reach for, but something to live. It flows through every interaction, every choice, and connects us through love. Our collective evolution becomes the greatest adventure we undertake. As we conclude this journey, carry this vision with you. Let it inspire you to live with openness, embrace creativity, and act with love and compassion. Every step you take, every choice you make, adds to this collective leap forward. This next evolutionary leap for humanity is not just about changing the world. It's about transforming how we see, interact with, and connect with one another. It's about living in alignment with the infinite potential within each of us, and recognizing that we are all part of the same story, the same journey, the same evolution. In a world consumed by material pursuits and distractions, the path toward transcendence, beauty, and love may seem distant. Yet it is precisely in these times that we must rediscover the profound depths of our humanity. The obstacles before us are not barriers, but invitations to grow, to evolve, and to reclaim the capacity to live lives filled with meaning, connection, and purpose. Every small action toward love, mindfulness, or creativity ripples outward. As we meditate, appreciate beauty, offer compassion, and deeply engage with the world, we not only transform ourselves, but also contribute to the collective consciousness. As we awaken individually, we make space for broader collective awakening. This journey is not about perfection, but persistence. Beneath the noise of modern life, there is a quiet truth. We are all connected. Through love, beauty, and spiritual growth, we can transcend materialism and build a future that honors the richness of the human spirit. In uncertain times, let hope and wisdom be your guides. Trust that each step you take contributes to a brighter, more compassionate world, where transcendence becomes a lived reality for all. Patience and self-compassion are essential on this path. Personal and collective transformation unfolds gradually, often in ways that are subtle and imperceptible at first. Every small intentional act, a moment of reflection, kindness, or creativity has far-reaching effects. In a world that seeks quick fixes, we must trust the slow, transformative process of cultivating deeper human values. The smallest steps taken persistently hold the power to reshape our lives and the world. As Lao Tzu reminds us, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Just as a tree grows slowly toward the sky, so can we evolve into our fullest selves, trusting that, with patience and intention, all we seek will come to fruition. This wisdom brings peace, knowing that our efforts, no matter how small, are enough. Trust the process, for just as nature unfolds in its own time, so too does life guide us to where we need to be. The next evolutionary leap begins with you. Together we hold the power to shape a world where love, beauty, and transcendence are not just ideals, but the foundation of our shared future. This is our next evolutionary leap.